because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together.
I say, come, I say, come, I say, come. Let we build a nation together. This is our nation, the state of Grenada, which includes Carriacou and Petit Martinique. This is our home, and we have a duty to enhance it. We have a responsibility to make it better for our families, for our people, right? And not just those who are here now, but down the road, they need to look back and say, yes, we did good, and they are benefiting from it. I want to encourage those on Facebook and YouTube to please share the live. Sharing is caring. I want to start off by saying we could become our own enemies. The National Bus Association, they have been negotiating with government for quite a while. By now, you know, the government put in place a transport board responsible for transport in the country, transportation, particularly public transportation. So if you are united, you can get more. What's supposed to happen, all these different associations and zones and so on, they need to form themselves into a bus association and be a part of the national association. Because the government or the transport board will only deal with an organized body. You can't deal with all busmen, meaning this busman here, this one may have a different concern or a different request. So if you deal with, let's say, 500 busmen or 600 busmen, all of them may have different requests, different things that they want. So government can only negotiate or deal with an organized body. So why not be a part of that organized body, the National Bus Association? What's wrong with that? But you know, some of these busmen, they have egos. If they're not in charge, then nobody else should be in charge. But anyways, there is a National Bus Association, and they were able to successfully negotiate with the transport board, with government by extension. Because for 18 years or so, the bus price remained the same. And the busmen are saying, or the National Bus Association is saying, but things are going up and we need to at least survive in this business. So they ask the government for an increase in the bus fare. The government doesn't want that because it will impact negatively the people. The people will be affected negatively. you have to find 50 cents more or whatever. So the government decided, let me seat, the transport board, let me seat and negotiate and speak to the National Bus Association. Let's find other ways and not increase the bus fare. So the Bus Association agreed. The National Bus Association agreed. We're not going to increase the bus fare, but let's get some rebates on gas or some concession on tires or vehicle parts and that kind of thing. So, all in all, it's a win-win for both sides. The government not increasing bus fare or the bus operators not increasing the bus fare. The population wins, and the busmen, they getting back the money, the tax on the gas. That's a good thing. Or if they buy tires, they're getting back their money, the tax. That's a good thing. But you have to be a part of the association to benefit. Everybody and anybody can't just benefit from it like that. It has to be an organized thing. Then you have some former president of the association or members who are not a part of the national association. They have a qualm, they have an issue with that. But why should you have an issue? Be a part of the national organization. Be a part of the National Bus Association. Join that. Speak with one voice. You get more accomplished that way. But you hear one of those individuals who was a former president of the Grenville Bus Association. He's no longer there. And he will call a program and say, well, I have a lot to say and a lot. Go and say it in the National Bus Association. Find yourself in there. This kind of splinter, group splinter thing all along the place. Be a part of the national. So it is a good thing for passengers because the passengers, right, could have been carrying that burden of an extra 50 cents or an extra $1. Because 18 years now, the busmen, they have not gotten an increase or see an increase in the bus fare. So what the government did is a good thing. Sit, negotiate, come up with a solution, and let everybody leave the room happy. So the government left the room happy because passengers do not have to pay more to travel. And the busmen left the room happy, or the National Bus Association left the room happy because they do not have to pay tax on gas or diesel, and they do not have to pay tax on tires or, well, let's say they will get concession on parts for their buses. That's good. That's a wonderful thing. Everything doesn't have to be confusion or bacchanal or some strike or some industrial unrest. You can sit as big people and negotiate. So what all the bus operators need to do is to be a part of the National Bus Association. So you have different zones. Every zone should have an association, and that association should be a part of the National Association. You need to be organized. All you to Vike and Japa. This piecemeal, everybody want to pull so. Organize yourselves. You get more accomplished that way. It's simple. So if you're vexed, join the association and benefit. Because you hearing these people, and because there is so many radio programs and stations giving these people space to vent, to talk rubbish many a times, they just go on and on and on and on and yap, yap, yap. And you say to yourself, okay, all right. Look, this morning on the Plead Your Cause program, again, you had the cheaters on the street. Well, he calls himself the chatters on the street, referring to Panames, Devon Romain, as this young man. Young what? Devon Romain is a old gangu, right? A old a old tiger, if you want to put it that way. The guy is not no young man. So he's referring to him as a young man. Young what? This guy been there from donkey years, and I want to assume that he either late 50s or early 60s. So to refer to him as this young man who constantly talking about Seydu and talking about the things in Grenville and da. Misleading. That's how they do it. And if you don't know the people who are calling on those programs, then you get caught up. You get fooled easily. Easily, you get caught up. So I am saying you have to be organized. And it's high time that the bossmen get themselves organized. So you're in a zone, you have a certain amount of bosses in a zone, form yourselves into an association and then join the national association, because automatically you will become a part of the national association. But there are some formalities that you have to go through. There's a certain process that must take place. It's simple for you to be initiated, for you to get in. And you don't always have to agree on everything. You can disagree on certain things. But you should not think that you're bigger than the organization and that whatever you say should stand. It shouldn't be that way. All right? So kudos to the National Bus Association and kudos to the Transport Board and the government of Grenada, because the National Bus Association could have strike, because remember, the thing was tense. And because the Honorable Andy Williams and other cabinet ministers intervened, well, particularly the Honorable Andy Williams, they were able to come to some agreement, come to some common understanding. And here we are. And we are the beneficiaries, the people who use public transport. I use public transport. I do not have a vehicle. I use public transport. And many people use public transport. If negotiation had failed, then we would have, be today talking about an increase in bus fare. But no, we are not. We are happy that the price for transporting or moving from point A to point B on a public transport or a bus, yes, it's privately owned but publicly operated, it remains the same. It remains the same, and that's a good thing. And thanks to the government of Grenada. Because under NNP, it was strike, it was all kind of stuff. I remember vividly a number of times when there were strikes strike actions by the bus operators, by the association and so on, under NNP. But this government must be credited for being able to sit with the different parties or organizations or groups and negotiate and come to some common understanding instead of having the thing reach to the stage where you have protests and strikes and all kind of thing. All right? So that's the first thing I want to state here. The people who are talking, because they are not a part of an association, they want the government to deal with them individually. They want the government or the transport board to deal with them because they have a sticker. No. Form yourself into an association and be a part of the National Bus Association, because the transport board not going to invite all the busmen to a meeting. Instead, they would negotiate with the National Bus Association. I love that. That's the way to go. I want to move on. I listened to a piece from Keith Mitchell as Member of Parliament for St. George Northwest. And in analyzing that piece, a number of things came out to me. This guy doesn't care about the people of his constituency. And he also looks down on these people. As a member of parliament for 40-something years, representing that constituency, the level of disrespect for his constituents, just the way he referenced them, referred to them, it bothers me, but I don't think it bothers them, because he can put a crapo to run in that constituency and they will still vote for him, or they would vote for the crapo. Listen.
Parliamentary Representative for St. George Northwest, Dr. Keith Mitchell, says as an opposition, his organization can only provide basic needs for the fire victim and other forms of moral support. He explained that while his organization is willing to provide housing assistance, the monthly constituency allowances does not allow. However, his office will continue to support the fire victims in every way it possibly can until they return to some form of normalcy.
So I went down to Boucherville and spoke to a number of people in the area and so on. And I sent my team in the office, my manager and other members, the constituency chairperson, who contacted the lady involved and initiated some help with foodstuff and other things. They did indicate from the report given to me that the problem or they're reasonably okay with as far as basic needs are concerned. And of course they receive a lot of clothes and support that they got from the community and people in general. Yeah, we do whatever we can. We that is something I always do, whether I'm in government or in opposition, whatever I can. But one thing I would never do is to go and make a promise that I know I will not be able to fulfill. Yeah, and I will continue. But I've been there for 40 years representing these people.
The fire victims in Boucherville are still grappling with the loss of their homes.
Right. So you heard Keith Mitchell there. I've been there 40 years representing these people. And just the way the man talks, it says a lot about how he views the constituents in his constituency, the folks in his constituency. It says a lot. This guy has no regards for his constituents. And not only that, you're talking or you're listening to a man who says he has or worth $19 million. That's who you're listening to, you know. You're not listening to some poor man on the street. You're listening to a man who says that he is worth $19 million. Someone in his constituency or a family lost their home by fire or due to fire. And this is the way this guy speaks. It's, boy, I just don't know what to say.
Dr. Mitchell says he is hopeful that government will provide some housing assistance to the victims soonest.
But their main concern was a place to stay. You know, we are not in government, so we're not in a position to build houses for anybody.
Right. So here, this guy again is saying that they have to be in government to build a house for somebody. There are organizations who are building house for people, or assisting people. So you telling me the NNP can't organize, mobilize resources to build a house for someone? I mean, besides the fire victim, forget about that. We're not focusing on just that, because government will help the fire victim. I mean, Keith Mitchell is just blowing this thing up because he wants some publicity, and everything around him is controversy. It's just controversy and melee and bacchanal. That's Keith Mitchell. That Fouchette. Keith Mitchell, in my belief, is a Fouchette. He's a melee man, a bacchanal man. So that old Fouchette, who been there representing the people of that constituency, quote unquote, because I don't believe he has been truly representing these people, but as their representative, the guy cannot use some of his personal money or start something. Say, I am putting $5,000 or his salary as MP 1 month, because he will collect on a monthly basis, I think about $5,000 as his salary as an MP. Besides that, this old Fouchette Keith Mitchell, in my belief, qualifies for a huge pension. All right? So he will be collecting, well, he should be collecting his huge pension every month. Not no liquor pension. And maybe I can inquire as to how much. The guy is collecting a hefty sum every month. So this guy who says he's worth $19 million is telling me and you this.
Grappling with the loss of their homes. Dr. Mitchell says he is hopeful that government will provide some housing assistance to the victims soonest.
But their main concern was a place to stay. You know, we are not in government, so we're not in a position to build houses for anybody. The government has received millions and millions of dollars to be able to aid any issues of this nature, and therefore it's the government. So what we will do is to write the government, the appropriate ministries.
Government would not wait for Keith Mitchell or any one of them to write to them. We have seen this government responded quickly to helping people who are affected by, fire and other things like that, whose homes were destroyed by fire and other things. The government responded quickly. So to say that he has to write them and all kind of Nancy story, that's just for camera. All right? But the interview exposes a lot about this individual. This guy does not genuinely believe in his people, to help his people, to elevate his people, to assist his people. This guy would not take his money. This guy's worth $19 million. Some people say they put the 1 before the 9 and it's $91 million. I cannot say so. He said that he's worth $19 million. So this is a $19 million man. And this guy cannot take $40,000. Because if you look at the house, The house is already partly concreted based on what I have seen. It will not take a lot, right? So the Honorable Ron Reddit is saying, here in St. George Northeast, we are building back 2 that occurred under my watch. So the Honorable Ron Reddit is referring to 2 persons or 2 families who lost their homes due to fire. And the government is already building back those homes, assisting them. And that is what I said earlier. What Keith Mitchell said there is just for public stunt and to be relevant. Government would not wait for Keith Mitchell, that old fouchet, in my belief, to write a letter and ask for them to do something. No, this government has demonstrated throughout the last 3 years that they would respond, that they would assist, they would help, right? So I am saying here, the reason why I played that piece is to expose this $19 million man. This guy is worth $19 million. And based on what I've seen in terms of the house, the structure.
There are houses in Bushejou.
Lyntia Joseph.
Right. So what I am seeing here, it seems as though the house is partly concreted. Maybe the veranda, maybe, the bathroom, partly concreted. So a fair estimate would be about $40,000, $50,000 if you want to be, exorbitant a bit or go over the mark. But $40,000 worth of materials would give that person back that house, right? Roof and other things like that. Keith Mitchell, that old cribo, that old political cribo, that political derelict, the $19 million man. This guy could easily come out and say, I am given 1 month of my salary towards this family being able to build back. Let's say he calls it some fund to build back that house. Remember the fire up in St. Patrick? The Honorable Joseph Andel. I mean, the guy and others jump into action. The Honorable Joseph Andel. Take a bow. They jump into action, and look today. These houses, they're concreted, they're better, they're bigger, they're more. I mean, that is what's supposed to happen. And they form a group or a committee. They open a bank account. They solicit funds and assistance and resources. That is what's supposed to happen. But Keith Mitchell, that old fouchet, in my belief, that old political derelict, that old cribo, that Morocco, Popo Black, the guy his usefulness is zero. His shelf life is, the guy has no purpose. So he can't even initiate something to get resources to help this family. And all this man has to do is to dedicate 1 month of his salary. Forget your pension, because and we know you're getting a damn big pension. Just 1 month. But this guy, he doesn't want to. I know this character. I know this individual. I remember some years ago, he went to I think it was a bar, shop, and those poor NNP people running and offering drinks, Heineken, he likes his Heineken, another one, dash and get a yellowtail wine, and you go and watch where the person staying, the person messing in a pit latrine in his constituency, messing in a damn pit latrine, but running to give him Heineken, running to give him yellowtail, and it's just atrocious. for want of a better word here. It's scary. It's bad, that bad. But he has no problem with that. He has all the millions, but he will still grab it, That is how this guy operates. The guys are no good. Politically, he's a damn no good. But he can't initiate nothing. Nothing. He don't care. But he comes as this cry baby. It's boy, I tell you, when you sit and you listen to this guy, you dive deeper and you realize this guy is a no good. He doesn't like these people. That is why his or that particular constituency that he represents is just a bulk of, you just watch the constituency just abandoned. Nothing much is happening there. Well, NDC come and bring in some life to that constituency and helping and doing things. And he's still vexed, When the Honorable Andy Williams went in there, you hear him talk about, use some words to the effect that, you see Andy in his constituency and come next election, they're getting leaks there and all kind of stupidness. Be glad that the Honorable Andy Williams there trying to help the people that you feel to help. Boy, welcome to Grenada, where you have an MP for 40-something years and you have a constituency that looks like 40-something years backward, right? As though the 1984. That particular constituency looks like 1984. And other constituencies, it looks like 2025. It's what it is. It's what it is. Folks, it is important to listen to what these people have to say. Not just brush it aside. I listened to this MTV piece and it made me see through the individual and understand the individual more. Yes, I know Keith Mitchell, I know that character. But when you listen to that guy in this piece, this guy has millions of dollars. But he will not take that initiative to say, well, July month, the salary, because MPs are collecting every month approximately $5,000 as a salary. This guy's a millionaire. This guy is a multi-millionaire. And still, for all, you listen to this political jagabat. Just listen to this guy now. Keith Mitchell, in my belief, is a political jagabat.
Parliamentary Representative for St. George Northwest, Dr. Keith Mitchell, says as an opposition, his organization can only provide basic needs for the fire victim and other forms of moral support. He explained that while his organization is willing to provide housing assistance, the monthly constituency allowances does not allow. However, his office will continue to support the fire victims in every way it possibly can until they return to some form of normalcy.
So I went down to Boucherville and spoke to a number of people in the area and so on. And I sent my team in the office, my manager and other members, the constituency chairperson, who contacted the lady involved and initiated some help with foodstuff and other things. They did indicate from the report given to me that the problem now they're reasonably okay with as far as basic needs are concerned. And of course they receive a lot of clothes and support that they got from the community and people in general. Yeah, we do whatever we can. We that is something that I always do, whether I'm in government or in opposition, whatever I can. But one thing I would never do is to go and make a promise that I know I will not be able to fulfill. Yeah, and I will continue. But I've been there for 40 years representing people.
The fire victims in Boucherville are still grappling with the loss of their homes. Dr. Mitchell says he is hopeful that government will provide some housing assistance to the victims soonest.
But their main concern was a place to stay. We are not in government, so we're not in a position to build houses for anybody. The government has received millions and millions of dollars.
And you see, folks, this is what scares me the most. For these people, for the NNP and all of them, to do anything, they have to be in government. They cannot take any initiative on their own as an organization, as individuals. They just can't initiate anything. They can't do anything. Or they could, but they just don't want to. They want everything to fall on the government. They're bad-minded. Keith Mitchell, in my belief, is a bad-minded piece of thing. He bad-minded in my belief. This guy has been prime minister for what? 20-something years. Been a member of parliament for that constituency for 40-something years. The guy cannot even take... So you telling me that Keith Mitchell doesn't know people? That he could pick up the phone and call and say, look, this is a project that we can undertake. I'm going to give the materials for the roof. You could give the materials to the flooring. You could give the materials for the side walls, some windows, some doors, but you have to be in government to do something like, it's just, and then people still support this useless spum, this waste spum. This is a waste spum, a waste spum. It's terrible. And you wonder, because these guys want to come back in power, Yeah, that waste spum wants to come back in power. All as he old, they still want to come back in power, Boy, I just don't know. You've been there so long as a prime minister. Now, you pick up the damn phone, use your money. If you don't want to use your money, well, pick up the phone and call some of your friends and colleagues and see if you could, do something now. But you come on the television, about government at this. The government going to help the people. They're going to lend some assistance. But come, take some initiative now. I remember in 2008, the election was called on July the 8th. And Keith Mitchell lost that election. So, in reality, they worked 8 days into the month of July 2008. Uncle Tilly and the NDC beat NNP. That bad-minded piece of thing, in my belief, made a big hooray for 8 days' pay. I just can't lay my hands on that, but I think I have that somewhere. Excuse me. Somewhere I have that thing, I just can't remember where the guy went in the parliament. I think it was the parliament. And he made a big fuss for that 8 days pay. Yeah. I just can't remember where that. Yeah, the man made a big hoorah for that first fight, that 8 days pay. Just can't remember where I have it. But somewhere, the guy made a big fuss for that 8 days pay. Right? I have it somewhere here. But the guy, he came in and he started to get on for the 8 days pay. 8 days. 8 days pay. Right? Somewhere. I just can't remember. Where I have that. Somewhere in my archive, one of my backup thing. One of my backup stuff. I would have it in one of them. Yeah? Somewhere. Folks, I don't know if you remember that. if you remember that. But I have it somewhere. But the man made a big fuss about just that 8 days pay. I don't know if you remember. Maybe you remember. If there's anybody who remember, maybe you can call me. Call me on 538-0933. If you remember Keith Mitchell making a big fuss over the 8 days pay. 8 days, Yeah. This guy is a no good politically, and no good. The election was called July the 8th, right? If anybody remembers, you can call me. And the number 538-0933. If you remember that clip, because I have it somewhere. But again, it reminds us of the individual. This guy don't care about people. He cares about himself. And he goes into parliament and he starts flinging his, this kind of gesticulation and so on. 8 days. 8 days. He called the election, Liberation Day. He called the election on July the 8th. Right? July the 8th. 8 days. So he lost the election. The man made a big fuss for that 8 days pay. 8 days. July the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, 7th, and the 8th. Yeah. Taxpayers' money. So he worked for it and he had a. It's scary. This guy, he doesn't care about this place or you or you or you. And not only him, all of them on that side. All of them on that side. But I remembered vividly, I was just looking for that clip, right? I was just looking for, I wonder if I can find it online. But somewhere, when he went into parliament and he made a big fuss about that 8 days pay, right? 8 days salary. But it says a lot. Now with this fire, destroying this home in his constituency, this guy could come up with some initiative to help these people. If you don't want to spend your money, because he doesn't want to spend his money. All right? He doesn't want to spend his money on these people. I think he called them, is it these people or the people? Some kind of thing he called them. Use words to that effect. He doesn't want to spend his money on these people. No. But it speaks to the character of the individual. It speaks to the individual and his thinking. He looks down on these people. You see, the NDC, those MPs and so on, those ministers, look at they trying their best. They would give their all. Only when these people are in power, they can do that. Right? On the NNP side. Only when they're in power. They say it openly. But mind you, they're getting $10,000 every month as constituency allowance. Boy. God help us all. Heaven help us all. You hear me? Heaven help us all. These same people want to come back into power, and that is where they want to be. Because for them to do anything, to help anybody, they have to be in power. If they're not in power, you can't get no help from them. So, what you helping people with? What, taxpayers' money only? The resources of the state only? Folks, we have to start thinking deeper. We have to start thinking deeper. Because they want to come back in power. When last have you seen Kate Lewis, for example, doing anything in her constituency? When last have you seen Emlyn Pierre, Jukutu Emlyn Pierre, doing things in her constituency? When last have you seen Clarice Modeste doing things in her constituency? When last? When last have you seen Peter David doing things in his constituency? When last? So they have to be in government to do things? So they can't do anything on their own? Or take initiative to, I mean, I cannot fathom. I just can't understand for a moment that these people want to come back into power because they believe only in power they could do things. So you're the member of parliament, they elect you as the member of parliament. You cannot take no initiative, nothing at all. It's mind-boggling. It's scary. But folks, I want to wish you all the best. Have a nice day. And I hope you're able to see through them, understand the character of the individual, and make your decision as you move forward. Bye for now.